for the next 5 months. And they are in a courtroom, just like a regular city attorney, except they don't get paid. And they try cases. To date, they've tried just around 300 cases, and they've got about an 80–85% success rate, which ain't bad. You know, and they're costing us this much, folks. And not only that, but then they have to come back 12 days a year, just like on the weekends. Remember when you're a reserve, you go back for a weekend a month, you know? Well, they come back 12 days a year. And that's so that at the end of that, for the next 3 years, so that way we have continuity. And we can move these guys into other places. They might be able to do interrogatories or do civil stuff besides just criminal. So we're working and we're trying to solve the problem. But it's a good program. The newspapers caught onto it. Today's show's catching onto it tomorrow. San Diego now is doing it. Sacramento is doing it. People are looking at this program. They're saying, hey, this works, especially in these tough economic times. It's a great program. Now, those guys go in and do my criminal cases. They do the criminal cases, the drunk drivings, the domestic violences, things of that nature. On the civil side, this is going to shock you. We have over 2,800 open civil cases in the city of Los Angeles, and that doesn't include workers' comp. We have about 7,000 to 10,000 open files in workers' comp. And some of these cases in comp date back to 1972. Why would you retire when you're getting comp for 30 years? I mean, so we're trying to clean that mess up. We've moved about 5 or 6 lawyers into that, and we're getting rid of the bleeders in workers' comp. We're getting control of that. I've promoted one guy in 18 months, and I just did that, and that Bill's instrumental in that. Carl Moody, he was a grade 3 city attorney. We put him in charge of our comp division. He's been working his tail off, getting the backlog of cases torn down. And so after a year of doing that job as a grade 3, we felt that we owed him a grade 4. Because the people that were working for him were special assistants and grade 4s, and he's below them and he's their supervisor. So we promoted him. But we're solving the workers' compensation problem in the city of LA. We're going to solve that problem. If we could get investigators, we could do subrosos and find out how many fraud cases there are. I guarantee you there's plenty of those too. I just can't prove it because I don't have the bodies. On the civil side, though, we have 2,800 cases. This represents $2 billion in claims. Think about that. If we were to lay down right now and just stop, we would get a judgment for $2 billion in damages. That doesn't include punitive damages that could be awarded, and it doesn't include attorney fees that could be awarded, and it doesn't include costs of injunctive relief that could be awarded. It's amazing to me the amount of liability this city accumulates and how we get sued. So today, what we've done since I've been there is every single time a case gets ready for trial, every single case in the city, it comes to my desk, the supervisor comes in, the lawyer that's trying the case comes in, either Bill or Kurt Livesey comes in, and we sit down and we have a little mini trial where they tell me about the case. I ask questions like a judge would or a jury. We go through the case, we see how good they are, I see what they've done. And they do this about 2 or 3 times for each case. One about 9 months out, another one about 6 months out, another one about 2 weeks before the case goes to trial. So we know what cases we're going to try to dispose or settle, and what cases we're going to litigate. So we have a case going to trial, set for trial on Monday. They bring it in. Here's the facts. You tell me what to do. Okay? That's what they're doing to us. We don't sue them, they sue us. All right. Somebody in the city is driving a city-owned vehicle, a Prius or a Civic, okay, and rear ends the car. Now the new cars are meant to absorb energy so that nobody gets hurt. You touch them and they crumble up, you know, you've seen that. Our car, we rear end this Lexus. Our car is crumbled up. Lexus, three estimates, $539. And the body damage goes up to $1,500, $1,580, something like that, okay? Those are 3 estimates, all right? I'm okay with paying on a rear ender Give them the $1,500. That's cheap. Let's get out of the case. Anybody disagree with that? All right, the demand is $1 million. What's that? This lady had absolutely no injuries before this. But she had a pre-existing condition, it looks like. And evidently we exaggerated it, and we exacerbated it, I should say. And $250,000 in medical treatments, some by her brother-in-law. Later, our request is $1 million to settle the case. What would you do? Would you take it to trial? Exactly. That's exactly what we do. But you know what? It's easy to say you're going to take a case to trial. Because taking a case to trial, it means expert testimony, it means interviewing experts, it means depositions, it means interrogatories, it means the whole gamut of getting a case prepared for trial. It takes time. It takes manpower. And we are so thin in our liability section when you only have, in this office, to do 75,000 misdemeanor cases and to do 2,800 civil cases and to do 7,000 to 10,000 workers' compensation cases, not to mention giving advice to the council, manning the neighborhood prosecutors to do advice to the neighborhood councils, to do all the things that we do in this office. When you only have 500 lawyers, you're down 150, things take time to accomplish. And everybody wants what they do right now. So we're in a very difficult time in the city. But that being said, let me just tell you so you understand this. Morale in the city attorney's office is great, I think. You know, it's sort of like, you're on a ship that you know that if you don't all pull together, it's going to crash. So we all have pulled together, and we're working hard, and we're getting the job done, and the lawyers are such great lawyers. I mean, I can't tell you how proud I am of this office. We have a distinguished speaker series, we have continuing legal education that we provide to the lawyers. They're just great, and they're doing their job, and I'm very, very proud of what we're doing. We've come up with some great ideas. One of them is ACE, that we are trying to put in place. It's administrative code enforcement. Because we're so tight with bodies, we don't need to have 70,000 cases become criminal cases. There are some cases out there that maybe shouldn't go through the criminal system, should go through an administrative system. So you don't have jury trials. So maybe we can run 30 or 40,000 cases, for example, like building and safety violations, or loud noises, or let's see what other things are going through in this thing. Give me some hints here, Bill, so I can. Now there's land use cases, zoning, excessive noise, waste dumping, unpermitted businesses, things like that. That now we make criminals out of people who don't comply. But instead of making them criminals, let's write them a ticket, just like a traffic ticket, get them to come into a court, talk to a judge that is in this administrative function, and that judge will either find them not guilty, like you would on a traffic ticket, or impose a fine. And guess what? Here's the smart part. Do you know that when you're charged with a crime, that when you pay your fine, you know where that money goes? It goes right to Sacramento, okay? But guess what? On this administrative code enforcement, you know where that money goes? Right to the general fund. And it helps the city out. So we get to keep the money and use it in our city. And why not? It's our violations, it's what we do here. It makes perfect sense. Except that it's been, I'm going to use a quote here, open quote, close quote, aging nicely in budget and finance. That's another way for saying it's on a shelf and it's growing whiskers. I don't know why. It doesn't make any sense why it should be, because we're in such bad revenue straits. And by the way, how much money is our revenue down? Anybody here want to take a guess? On a percentage basis? How much? Good number. Anybody else? 30%? Okay. We're in terrible budget times and we're down 3.5% to 4%.
That's all?
Did you say that's all? So, I mean, at the end of the day, this is a crisis that we can manage our way out of if we managed our way out of it. And so this is a problem. This is something that will bring money into the city's coffers right now. The ACE program is a great program. Sacramento has it. San Diego has it. Santa Monica's even doing it, and they're copying it from it was my idea. You know, so we should do it. It doesn't make sense for us not to do it, but we're getting a little blowback from that. You know, there's a tremendous amount of issues that I get involved in. I've spoken with Tamara on a number of issues. One of the things I mentioned, somebody in here was at the a Super Bowl party I was at, and I got asked to talk about schools. And I've been a big proponent of education. You're lucky to have is Paul still here? There he is. You're lucky to have a captain. Bill Eaton was a great guy, good man. He's been replaced by another great man. Just so you'll know, I worked gangs, and I worked with LAPD gang homicide division when I was working gangs. They are the finest of the finest detectives in the nation. Gang homicide detectives are the elite of the elite. Tell me if I'm wrong, Paul. I mean, this guy he's not going to toot his own horn. But to get to that point, to be the captain in that division, which he was before he came here, tells you that you have a real cop in charge of this area. A real cop. And, you know, having worked in the gang unit, the hardcore gang unit in the DA's office, and seen these guys, Paul will tell you the same thing. We're never in a million years going to arrest our way out of this gang problem. If you think that we can just go down there with 10,000 cops and arrest every gang member out there and that's going to solve the gang problem, you've been stopping at the pot shops. You need to get out of there because that's not going to happen. The only way we're going to get out of this problem, and believe it or not, and this might sound crazy, but it's through education. And I met with Cortinas within the first week that I was in office. And I met with him 4 times. I've called Adrizi now to meet with him on the same issue. And the issue is life skills. We need to start in the first grade, kindergarten, and teach kids decision making, life skills, consequences. Teach them so they have them here on their fingertips. And I'll give you an example so you'll understand how I came up with this. I happen to meet a buddy of mine who I went to high school with, who I know very well because he was the center and I was a linebacker, and I got to hit him in the head every single day of practice. A guy named Jesse Ibarra, I call him Chewy. Chewy Ibarra, he was an ICE, he worked for ICE. He retired as a customs officer, plain clothes. He was bored, so he went to work in the high school as a hall room monitor. As a hall monitor. Not as a security guard, just a guy that says, hey, come on, get to class, come on. All right? That's all he did. But the cop in him, he talked to these kids as he was walking to the class to get them there on time. He started keeping notes about this kid knew this kid, and that kid knew that kid, and first thing they got their trust, and he started just talking to them. And he was telling me, when I was running for city attorney, he goes, you're not going to believe this, but these high school kids are going down to Dana Junior High. And they're recruiting those kids in junior high to caper for them in high school. And he goes, and it's getting worse because the kids in junior high are going and getting their brothers and sisters who are in elementary school and already getting them into the lifestyle. Look at, I see we got Pepsi-Cola back there. Who has a bigger market share? Coca-Cola or Pepsi-Cola? Well, obviously Coca-Cola. But Pepsi continues to advertise. They continue to fight and try to get a bigger market share. Well, for 50 years we've been fighting this gang problem, and for 50 years, we've been losing this fight. The other company's got a bigger market share. Obviously, our message is not the right message that we're getting out to these kids. We need to change the message. We need to change the way we do things. We're doing these one-off gang programs here.